Hey, I'm Bob Pittenger, and I want to welcome you to week one of our new series, Sex in Church, Uncensored Truth for an Uncensored World. People often get confused when talking about intimacy because they think it's all about sex. But as Pastor Alex said, sex is not the answer to intimacy. Real intimacy is being fully known without the fear of being rejected. Now, let me say this again. He said, real intimacy is being fully known without the fear of being rejected. Think about the times you felt the closest to your spouse. It's when you could be yourself, share your struggles, your hopes, your dreams, fears, anxieties, or anything else, and know that they will always be there for you. Conversely, you felt rejected when you shared your heart and they didn't want to listen to you or they were too judgmental. Either way, you were left feeling alone and burdened with life's cares. Why? Because of a lack of intimacy. So, how do you build an intimate relationship? Well, Les and Leslie Parrott addressed this topic in their blog, Help, We Want More Emotional Intimacy in Our Marriage. Great title, right? I want you to know I've included the link to this blog post in the discussion guide under additional resources so that you can look it up and read the whole thing. But what I want to do today is I want to take what the Parrotts said in their blog post and I want to summarize it for us this evening. So intimacy, real emotional intimacy, comes from truly knowing one another at the deepest level. You know and understand each other's fears, yet you're comfortable being vulnerable and transparent because you've developed a special bond with one another. So when creating genuine emotional intimacy, there are a few things that you need to know. The first is this: intimacy isn't static. It's not a one and done kind of thing. It's a continual work, continual conversations, listening, asking the right questions, and spending time together, purposely seeking to know and be known. Intimacy is constantly growing, constantly evolving, and constantly adjusting. There'll be times you feel closer and other times that you feel a sense of distance between you. Sometimes you must intentionally work harder than others for emotional intimacy. But when you have that, you recognize when you're moving apart and have a proven way to store it because you've built this intimate relationship. When you feel distant, now you know how to work to bring it back together. When you know your emotional intimacy, you will know that it needs continual attention. When you know what it is, you know it doesn't just happen. You know you have to continually give it attention, and that should create a sense of security rather than a sense of fear. Just because your relationship doesn't seem close, that it seems distant, it doesn't mean it's lost. It does mean making a concerted effort to restore that closeness. Restoration isn't a time for the blame game. It's a time to draw near to one another, examine how you're both feeling, and reconnect by talking, listening, asking questions, and just being together. The next step is this: invite your spouse to open up. When you're feeling emotionally distanced, when you feel like intimacy isn't there and there's something between you, then invite your partner to open up to you. Invite them to sit down with you and ask them questions that help them feel open and safe. Have conversations that help you get to know each other better than ever. Now, keep your questions focused on your spouse rather than yourself. This means taking the time to really listen to their answers. Not be listening so that you can give a response, listening to hear what they say. And remember this has always been my problem when listening to my wife, and so I'm going to share this with you. Don't assume they're looking for you to fix what's happening in their life. Let them ask for your opinion before you give it. It lets them know you're listening and respecting them, that they just need someone to talk to and not someone to fix everything. So let them ask for your opinion. My wife over the last 30 years has taught me very quickly that if she wants my opinion, she's going to ask for it. But sometimes all she wants me to do is listen and let her process verbally. And so by doing that, I'm creating intimacy for her by just listening and not feeling like I have to be the fixer. Why? Because we all want to be the person who knows them better, deeper, and more intimately than anyone else on the planet. And that means intentionally sitting down to talk, listen, and learn. Thirdly, we need to create a safe place for each other by asking curious questions, listening to understand, and showing up for one another. Loving each other this way creates the safest and most emotionally intimate place on earth, your hearts, your marriage, your lives. Developing emotional intimacy doesn't just happen when you get married. It takes two people who purposely seek it, long for it, and are willing to sacrifice for it. This may seem complicated or intimidating. However, having a specific scheduled time to sit down and talk is a great beginning. Over time, it'll get easier, but not less important, of being intentional. Over time, when you grow distant and you need to come back together, it will get easier to come back together. When you are close and you want to spend time together, that will be easier. But it'll never lessen the importance of being intentional. I pray your discussion time will help you clarify your next steps in improving your emotional intimacy.